All right, y'all, a little motivation and inspiration for your Wednesday morning. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat in case anybody wants to go in and take a look at that. But again, these are reminders. We're not saying anything of. Here we go. You should be reminded of on a daily basis. On a daily basis. Where are you? Where are you? Like that's such a big question that sometimes you just gotta sit with it. Where am I? Like are you aware of where you are currently in life? Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, like relationally. Gotta fix this internet. There we go. We're back. Are you aware? Are you aware? Are you aware? That's where I started. What must I become? These are some notes that I wrote down for you. What must I become? I want you to ask yourself these questions again when you hear things like this, when you hear things that spark something, that plant a seed for you. It's your job to water that seed. It's your job to say, hey, that's a thought I haven't thought about in a while. So let me sit with it. Let me water this thought, right? What must I become? Who must you become to get to the life that you want? That's what it's about. We talk about it all the time. It's not about the material possession. It's not about the being the millionaire. It's not about the having the perfect marriage or being the perfect parent. It's the person you must become in the pursuit of that thing. It's the person you must become in pursuit of the thing that you're going after. It's important to have a thing you're going after because then, otherwise, if you don't have a thing you're going after, you have no pursuit in becoming anything. That's when we drift. That's when we're a little here, a little there. I feel like this week. This year, I feel like this. This is where I'm focused, right? Like we don't have a destination. But once you have the vision and you have a destination, it's sure about the destination, but it's really not. It's about the man or woman you have to become in order to achieve that. That's the mindset we have to have behind growth. That's the mindset we have to have around goals and achievement and vision. It's really just perfecting you. It's just perfecting you as a person. The adversities that you're going to have to go through, the relationships you're going to have to, right, have and fail and mess up. It's just creating the man or woman God called you to be. We have to understand that, right? It's necessary to go after what is yours. I think Les Brown said that in there. It's necessary. When people don't have a vision, when people, if you're not growing, you're dying. If people don't have a vision, they don't have a thing that they're going after. Like it almost, it hurts your soul after a while. After a while, you feel disconnected with yourself, with your purpose, right? We hear that word a lot. But that's just because we're not in pursuit of something bigger than ourselves, grander than ourselves to become the person that God called us to be. So we got to keep going. We got to keep going. Where must I grow? Where must you grow? Are you aware of that? Are you aware of where you have to grow? Are you aware of where you need to perform, where you need to improve, where you need to focus more in this season? There could be specific areas that if you're just like, I need to grow in this area. Now you focus on it. The way I consume information, the way I grow is I have to like take in a lot of information on one topic at one time. Learning how to learn is important to getting to the life you want, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Learning how you learn. School doesn't teach us that. It just tells us kind of what to do. But once you learn how you learn, you can take in more. I'm the type of person, if I need to grow in leadership, I'm going to read 7 leadership books and watch 100 leadership podcasts all at one time. I'm not going to bounce around and do it. Like I condense it all and then I'm off it. Then after 2 months, I'm like, okay, I'm good on the leadership side. I got all that I needed. But then when I'm like, what other area must I grow? Oh, I have to grow in my health. Got it. Consume all of the health stuff, all of the books, all the podcasts, all of it at one time. And that is the way I learn. But you have to know how you learn, and then you have to understand where you must grow. This is the thing I wrote down here. Your destiny is linked to your identity. Probably gonna tweet that or put that out somewhere today as content. Your destiny is linked to your identity. Who you believe you are will determine where you go, right? Your destiny, what's up ahead, is linked to who you think you are. So, who do you think you are? How aware are you? Where must you grow? Where are you? These are the real questions, bigger questions. I know everybody wants to focus on all the other things of life, but these are the real questions that get you to the life you don't need a break from. The more you can ponder on these things, meditate on these things, get clarity on these things, the better you become. You heard that Myron Golden example of the seed. Again, the seed, the only way the seed becomes a tree or a plant is it has to cease being a seed. The seed literally breaks and then it sprouts. We have to change who we are, our identity, who we believe we are right now, in order to become the man or woman that God called us to be. That's the message. You got to make sure that you are aware and you're focused on these things. If you want to get to the life you don't need a break from, that's what we're doing this for. Highest, grandest expression of ourselves. In our text, 177 Mental Toughness Secrets, the first chapter of the book, says the world class operates from objective reality. Objective reality, not fooling ourselves. E.T. in there said, right, what skills do I have? What skills do I not have? Where, right? That's awareness. That's being aware of where you are, good, bad, and different. That's you saying, I know this is an area and I need to improve in this. And then you go do the work. Here's what it says in this text. It says, in 20 years of competing, coaching, and working with performers from various fields, I've discovered most amateurs suffer from mild to severe delusion in relation to their efforts and competencies. In other words, most people delude themselves into thinking they are working harder than they are and that they are more competent than they actually are. Of the 5 major levels of conscious awareness, poverty class, working class, middle class, upper class, and world class, my experience has been that performers at the middle class level of consciousness suffer the grandest delusions. The poverty level is barely surviving and living a very harsh set of circumstances. The working class is punching the mental clock and counting the days until retirement. They're usually not expecting much, and no one around them is expecting much either. They're typically not concerned about climbing any higher. It's the middle class that is the most incongruent with reality. They're operating at a high enough level to understand that higher levels exist. Although they don't expect to get there, the thought crosses their mind from time to time. Because of their low expectations, their actions are incongruent with their desires. Say that again. Because of their low expectations, identity, your expectations come from what you believe is possible. It's your identity. Because of their low expectations, their actions are incongruent with their desires. In other words, they want to live the life of the world class, but they are unwilling to pay the price. Since this reality is too harsh to bear, they delude themselves into thinking they're doing everything in their power to get ahead. Of course, they're not. They'll tell you they're putting in far more time than they are. They'll swear that they're thinking about their vision all the time, but they're not. The world class is brutally honest with themselves, and they tend to look reality in the face. They err on the side of over practicing, over preparing. Champions know that to ascend to the top, you must first be operating from a mindset of objective reality. Self deception and delusion have no place in the professional performer's consciousness. Are we deluding ourselves into thinking that we're further along than we are, that we're working harder than we are, that we're more focused than we are, that we're more competent than we actually are? No shame, no guilt. It's awareness. I say this when I coach people financially. I say no shame, no judgment, no guilt, because those emotions, we can't use them to always power us to the top. They normally bring us back down after a while. But also, I say awareness is the first step to change. Awareness, being brutally honest. Again, I'm in the financial space. So when I force someone to be brutally honest by looking at where they spent money, not how they've clouded it in their mind that they moved it from this account to this account, and that account is kind of like a savings, but I kind of spend out of that, and then I'm over here. I don't really look at the credit card. I only kind of look at the bills. Like when we delude ourselves in our financial life, we can't get ahead. When we're not brutally honest, when we talk about things that we think we are more competent in our financial life, and we're really not. We're afraid to ask the stupid question. What is that? How does that interest work? Like when we delude ourselves in that area, we don't get change. I do this firsthand with people financially. That's the way this works in your life. You have to be brutally honest with yourself of where you sit. I asked someone this question like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, hey, on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm a big like, that gives me an idea. On a scale from 1 to 10, like, where do you think you sit emotionally, spiritually, and physically in your health? And they were honest with me, and they were like a 0, like a 1, 0. I was like, great. No shame, no judgment. Now we can grow. If you told me you were a 5, but you really are a 1, we can't grow at that space because you're not being honest with yourself. You're not being brutally honest with where you sit. The world class people that grow and get to the life they don't need a break from, they're brutally honest with where they sit. They're brutally honest. And from that point, then they can change. That's it, right? It's not a matter of judging you where you are in accordance to your neighbor or your friend or your spouse or where you thought you should be at this stage. It's, can I understand where I am? And now I have the ability to grow. Now I can become. Now, if my vision is clear and I understand where I'm headed, I can become the man or woman to achieve that thing, to get to that place. But it all starts with us being brutally honest and living from a place of objective reality. That's what it says. Objective reality. We have no place for delusion. No place for delusion. You have to start speaking these things. This is a mindset, right? If you change your thinking, you change your life. If you're a little overweight, by definition, you might be obese. You should probably call yourself obese than saying I'm a little overweight. That's a mild form of delusion when we speak to ourselves. It happens in lots of areas. Like it says, where did it say in here? Uh, they're operating at a high enough level to understand that higher levels exist. Although they don't expect to get there, the thought crosses their mind from time to time. Because of their low expectations, their actions are incongruent with their desires. Right? Since this reality is too harsh to bear, they delude themselves into thinking they're doing everything in their power to get ahead. This is a soothing mechanism, a self-soothing, a technique to actually like help us. It's probably helped you in a season to not be so hard on yourself, right? You've heard people say that before. Don't be so hard on yourself. But there's a difference in being hard on yourself and being delusional about where you sit, about where you are. We have to be the people that are brutally honest with where we are so that we can change. So here's what it says in the quote. It says, amateur performers operate from delusion, pros operate from objective reality. The great ones' habits, actions, and behaviors are totally congruent with the size and scope of their ultimate vision. That's why we call them champions. Because the great ones' habits, actions, and behaviors are totally congruent with the size and scope of their ultimate vision. When you're clear on where you're going and you're living in objective reality, you're not delusional, you know exactly where you sit, then you can start to do the work. As Myron Golden said in the video, that's when you start getting into the basement, into the lab, have the intestinal fortitude, the grit to know I'm not there. I'm not where I need to be. I'm sitting at a 0 in this level. I need to get it, and I need to have the grit to keep going and to keep doing the work. That's how we get there, ladies and gentlemen. The action step for today says make a commitment to check delusion at the door. Be honest and ask this critical thinking question. Are my habits, actions, and behaviors congruent with the vision I have for my life? Where are you? Who are you becoming? Are your habits, actions, and behaviors congruent with that person, with your identity, with who you see yourself becoming? If not, if you're not where you want to be, because none of us are, I'm not, I'm sure you're not, we get another shot to do this today. Today, today, not next week, not tomorrow. Like today, you get another opportunity to get one step closer to your goals, one step closer to your dreams, one step closer to the man or woman God called you to be if you do the work. If you're intentional about being real, like I don't use that's why they don't say it's realistic, but it's objective reality. Similar terms, just different connotation when you say realistic. But do you know exactly where you sit? Do you know exactly where you are? Do you know exactly where you want to go? The more clear you can get with those things, where you want to go and where you currently sit, everything that's in between is just the work. It's just you putting in the work and being intentional about the areas you got to grow. All right. Love you guys. Want you to win. You deserve it. Your families deserve it. Sometimes these messages are harsh, but that's good. Sometimes they're needed. Not sometimes, all the time. You need someone in your corner. You need someone in your corner that pushes you. If you don't have people around you like me, like somebody that is in your ear saying, "Oh, you could do this better," or maybe you should think about it this way, or "Oh, we should shift." If you don't have that, I encourage you to get that because it's needed for you to become the best version of yourself. All right. We're not meant to walk this thing alone. You can't do it alone. You need people to help you in the journey. I need people to help me in the journey. Like that's how this works. So take heed to these messages, take heed to it, and then go off and do the work. Not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. Go out and do something that scares you, that changes your life today. Love you guys. I'll see you on Friday.